Hey, what's going on, everyone?
Oh, we're live!
You are
We're
live.
doing it! Hi!
Welcome,
Hi.
welcome.
I'm Melanie.
Good friend Melanie, mother friend Daniel right now working with other camera. We got 2 lives going on and the whole audio setup. This is definitely an improv conversation that you're gonna love.
Hello, everyone.
My friend Daniel.
I'm gonna pull up the live on my phone.
Oh, this is live too?
That was live. Mel's gonna make sure that one's live.
Oh shit, here I am live. Being live.
We're live.
Being
Watching me
alive.
live and being live.
All right.
Oh, we're cute, guys.
Oh yeah.
We're cute.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. So you see by the title, guys, this is all about relationships. And it's like the real, not even the real truth, but the raw footage, the nitty gritty behind it. That I think will really change your mind.
Yeah. We just want to have like open dialogue and open conversation about something that obviously is a thing that connects all of us and makes all of us potentially either feel connected or potentially disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to let you guys know that I am monitoring Daniel Ramon Tardy's feed. And so if you ask questions, I'll see them and we will get at you.
Yes.
Yeah. Let us know. The whole thing is about you guys and all you out there. So like, you have questions, let us know. Mary's watching for us, and this will be really empowering and probably, I don't know, say like super groundbreaking.
I think what I'd like to open with is that I personally noticed that when I'm truly connected in any kind of relationship, like right now we're in relationship, we're in the same room. When I'm riding the same vibe with people around me, I feel infinitely powerful. The levels of creation go exponential.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something worth noting and is like a call to action for unity for everyone watching to maybe discover how we can leverage the best in each other to tap into infinite possibility.
I love that.
That
feels good.
That is huge.
Yeah.
I love her. I love you. I love myself though.
All in a big love circle right now. And she said it's like so influential because literally, I think we're all here for that exact purpose. And they always say, people can go fast by themselves, but can go really far together. And that infinite possibilities he's talking about is that exact statement. When we're all together co-creating this world and this experience, we have more possibilities and more endless feedback we can go off the back with each other.
I like that the feedback, just relationships operating as a mode of reflecting back to us how we may be feeling, how we may be operating in our own worlds, because when we involve another person, technically we're stepping into the idea of co-creating a world together. And that world is a mixture of both of our propensities to create, how we potentially distract ourselves, how we remain disconnected from ourselves, and therefore potentially how we remain disconnected from those around us. The relationship itself is a tool of reflection to help understand what's happening in my inner world and what is the best framework for me to know that through this connection, through this intimate connection of seeing into somebody else's world and them being able to see infinitely and intimately into ours.
What that shines a light on for me is that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself.
I was just thinking that,
Right? And the way I speak to myself in my mind is going to be reflected in how I speak to you and how I speak to you. And so I think let's talk about that. How about that relationship as a starting point? Like how to nurture ourselves. Something that I practice to have a really strong relationship with myself is bringing loving acceptance to anything I'm feeling or having. And just like really loving me. But in order to get there, I had to first be present with the fact that I didn't fully love and accept me. I didn't think I was cool enough or pretty enough or skinny enough or smart enough or fast enough or whatever. I had all those voices in my mind. Have you guys ever had those voices in your mind?
Without a doubt.
Definitely.
When did you first recognize that you didn't have to listen to them?
I mean, I knew I was creating for other people pretty early on. I learned that through through how people perceived me was often how I perceived myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like starting out in life, and I think that idea was cemented in through like parenting, right? How our parents receive us or perceive us based on our behavior. We learn to adjust like what we give in each moment. So we learn like, oh, if I behave this way, then they're gonna love me. If I behave in this way, then I could get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I feel that could easily translate into, you know, adolescence, you know, young adulthood. And for me, I feel one of the most powerful ways or times in my life was like high school.
Yeah.
Right. So high school really taught me that there were certain ways that I could exist that would allow me to gain a deeper sense of like acceptance from those from those people around me. And if I keep doing that, then more people will love me, and it'll stay like that forever, right? And really what I was learning was how to design my own character, not for my own benefit, but for the benefit of those that were seeing me and maybe potentially not seeing me. So that was my start in learning how to love what other people loved first. And the sort of the groundbreaking thing, you talked about the groundbreaking thing, or the thing that like really shattered that for me, was learning that no matter how hard I tried to be how other people wanted me to be, there was no guarantee that they would accept me, right? Even if these people accepted me, these people wouldn't over here, right? So then I learned, okay, if there really is no right or wrong, or if there's no rhyme or reason to, you know, behaving in a way that other people may or may not accept me, like what can I arrive at and land in myself that allows me to accept those parts of myself? How do I want to create my ideal character, my ideal sense of self that I accept just for me and me alone, no matter what anybody else like has to say about that part or that version or that idea of me? What do I accept? What lands inside of me and has me feeling like a whole human versus like just a piece of myself?
I don't think I discovered this till I was like 29.
Yeah.
Like stepping into full self-acceptance and being like, oh, I'm great all the time. And everything I do is just for me. And anything I wear is just for me. And however I look is just for me. And I get to feel good and silly. And it doesn't matter if I fit something someone else needs. And I remember just like really when I discovered it, I was like all in. That's when I cut my hair off and I started wearing glitter and like war paint on my face. And I remember I was raising money at the time, and I went into an investor meeting with like face paint on. And they were like, what's up with the face paint? And I was like, I felt like a warrior today. And they were like, okay. Anyway, moving on.
I can see that now.
Stepping into that complete self-expression, I think after self-acceptance for me comes full self-expression. And then you're just playing, it's like you're playing a game with yourself. Like, I don't know.
Me versus me.
Yeah. Like, how silly can I get? How fun can I be? Like,
How about you, Jordan?
I think there was so many levels. This kind of subjective and deep topic. Like for me, like I was a weird kid growing up, so I was kind of fit into the mode. Like you always say, like when you do that, you like kind of cut ourselves off from other people, like automatically. Like one of the people who will like you, and people who won't like you, automatically.
Right.
So once you yourself, though, that's when it all kind of magically happens. We're saying, it's me versus me. How silly can I be? How happy can I be? But it took me being unloved or someone I loved for me to really become myself.
Say that one more time for him. Say that one more time to the people.
It took me being unloved or someone I truly loved my whole heart for me to actually know how much I love myself. Once we have that person break our heart or like go through a lot of drama, we realize what we want and accept them all. We raise our standards and that's like, you know what? I'm done trying to fit the mold of other people. I'm done trying to make someone else happy kids of them. I want it to be a procreation. I want it to be a group activity where we're both empowering each other to be our best selves. And once that happened to me, that's when I really started to like make more videos and do more new pursuits and like really express my creativity and become myself in my whole fullness. Without trying to dim my light so people won't be blinded by it. You know what I mean?
That's deep.
One of the big things for me was like really accepting who I was, no matter what anyone says.
Yeah.
So once you had that self-acceptance, how did that change the way interpersonal relationships showed up?
Oh, it's groundbreaking. Like you said before, this is groundbreaking. Right now, I met these two amazing people that I did not know that long ago.
I literally just met Jordan like, what, 2 days ago?
2 days ago.
Yeah,
I've known Melanie for like, what, a couple of months maybe? And all this happened with my big downfall of that relationship I had. It was like a year ago. From that point forward, I lost almost all my friends. And now I'm making new friends who are on the same mission as me, but it's interpersonal relationship where let's empower each other. Let's push each other to be our best selves. And let's, express who we are without this like false hate or this cloud of judgment. Like, I like him because he likes to party. I like him because he does this. No, I like him because he's you and you're me. Like that's why I like this person.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that there's a point along the path where those around us start to recognize us for our uniqueness, not necessarily because we're adapting to fit the mold of what society says that we should be, or what our job says we should do, or what our parents say we should, who our parents say we should date. There's a lot of people around us that have an idea of who we are, but it's the name of the game is know thyself.
Yeah.
The name of the game is literally know thyself, and I feel through those unique relationships, whether they be familial or partnership based relationships, that is one way to arrive at understanding who we are, because a lot of times we know sooner who we aren't in those connections. They challenge our own sense of I amness, because our parents might hold an idea of us from when we were this tall, and they might be holding on to that idea longer than what we are. And we might be willing to change sooner than
drop of a hat.
At the drop of a hat, sooner than when other people around us are expecting us to change. And
we have a comment.
Okay. Dive in.
Kian Kerbel says, if I'm going through a season on solitude to focus on my own personal growth and development, how necessary is it for me to express or verbalize that personal shift to those I'm personally connected to? Or should I assume that those people I share a true relationship with already understand that individuals grow in different ways? Wow, that's deep. So I imagine when you're going through a big internal shift, your external...
That's Cayenne, by the way, in Des Moines.
Thank you.
Like, soul sister, I love you.
I think the external world will always mirror what's going on in the internal world. So you actually don't need to put forth any effort for your reality to shift to match what's going on in here. You might just witness. You could just take a witnessing seat, and oftentimes your relationships will shift. Some people will stay, some people will just be around less frequently, and it's all good if you can just sit in witnessing role and not have attachment to how it should look now. Because whatever you just, that work that you just did internally, which is sacred, awesome work, and thank you for doing it, is going to do, that's it.
You're
that's
doing
the whole
work.
Package.
That's where the work is.
Yeah. Right.
And that's a good point. The work it's an inside job, right? So the work is actually happening within ourselves, which should give us some sense of like thankfulness that we don't have to change every single person around us. If we had to do that, we'd be
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it'd be a full-time job, right? We wouldn't have time to do anything, right? So the fact that it's an inside job means that there's internal dialogue, there's internal characters within ourselves that we're reconciling, and some of those internal characters are then reflected in the outside, in the exterior world. And so you could be in a relationship with you could be resolving some things, let's say with your father, for instance, and be projecting out characters. Could we dive into the characters in the movies and the
why don't we step out and lay some foundation for that? So Daniel uses some really fabulous terminology that helps you and me and all of us get in the creator seat of our lives, and that's my segue for you.
So I use, and it'll just flow out as we go, but I consider myself main character in my movie, right? Jordan's main character in his movie, your main character in your movie. And as main characters, because we understand that we're main characters, we're more readily and more able to connect and create together, right? There's no
disconnect.
There's no disconnect because she's a sovereign being. She understands that she creates her world. So as we're navigating our relationship, then we understand that what's happening within ourselves is our responsibility. Is what's happening inside of me is my responsibility. It's part of my main character. It's part of my movie, part of my script. If she's doing the same thing, then we can come together and co-create scenes where we're acting out, playing out things that are potentially would have stayed internal, but we know if the external is reflecting the internal, then we can always bring it back within ourselves. Okay, so
definitely
that's just that. I think that's a good immediate foundation to lay down, and we can get deeper into it as we go.
Yeah, and to answer your question more closely, if you want to read it, you're asking how necessary it is for you to express. It already is. So your beingness, your energetic flavor, how it feels to be next to you, that's where the shift happened. And the words to express what happened would really only be there to provide clarification.
Yeah.
So like my best friends, when I spend time with them, if I did a lot of work, like I just did actually, my best friend came over, she sat down next to me and she said, I can see in your eyes that you're a different person today. And I think people who really know your soul can tell when you've shed a layer. And you don't need to have a deep conversation to express it, they can just feel it.
And not everyone is going to feel the same thing. So to the degree that we shift, not everyone can go there with us. Not everyone is supposed to go to that new sense of self, or to that new we're sort of
the paradigm of it.
It is a new paradigm. It is a new paradigm that we are choosing actively through our choice, through our action, through our internal work. And there will be people that it will feel like we're leaving them behind because they may not actually resonate with where we go within ourselves. Not everyone can go there.
I think the biggest thing that's said on that point is, they say people won't follow us all the time, but go apart. It's like a tree and a plant. You never see a tree getting mad at another tree for outgrowing it. It's part of life. It's what we do. We're meant to grow at different paces. If someone catches up, awesome. If not, then so be it. We'll find someone else to still do the same procreation with them. But even more than that, I've heard there's 3 kind of people in our life. The first one is there for a reason. Then one for a season. One for a lifetime. And once we kind of navigate that system, we can really get into the system of, okay, is this person here teaching a lesson for this reason? Or we heard the person for a season, or this person for a lifetime with? Like, what's going on? Why am I with this person? This helps us be less subjective, less controlling of what's going on. Like, okay, I'm going to have no attachments to anything to the point where I have to be controlling what's going on. I'm going to go with the flow that happened for me. Instead of, hey, I want you to be my friend forever. Let's make this happen right now. Let's keep doing the same kind of stuff. No, just enjoy the moment for what it is, while embodying who we are, so we all can be ourselves. And not have that whole I don't want to make the person mad, I don't want to lose a friendship, but more like, I'm happy with what I have right now, and it's really a moment with this person. Let's still this beautiful moment together and see where it takes us.
And I've also seen myself not necessarily outgrow people, but grow apart, and then find that as we grew apart, we were obviously, separately making our own life choices and growing in our own unique ways, only to find out that we were still on similar paths, and to then, but all, even back then, we're maybe different, so we're gonna grow apart and do our own thing. But when it comes back together, to see the idea that you can go through totally different processes and still arrive at some of the people that you thought that you had either outgrown or that you grew apart from. So there are people that you may come around to in a cyclical way. That this is not a linear game that we're playing anymore. We could talk about the quantum, ideas. But if we approach it as a nonlinear way, then we're sort of growing in like plants do. Plants grow based on seasons,
what they need.
and what they need and what they have access to, the nutrients that they have access to in the moment, how much sun this tree gets versus how much sun this tree gets. This tree may have to grow in a totally different way in order to reach for those nutrients from the sun, and this tree may not have to try as hard. It might just flow into its vegetation. So understanding that we're natural beings, and things that are natural happen in cycles. And so if we're seeing ourselves grow apart from each other, or grow in our own unique ways that may be separate from those around us, just accepting that we're growing in the cycle that we need to grow in, and things are happening in the proper timing for ourselves as well as those around us. Like I can't pull Jordan with me if I'm on my own unique journey, because he has a lifetime of experience in filtering and exposure to different things that I don't. So there may be things that he needs in his experience to reconcile his life that may be different than the things that I need versus the things that Melanie needs.
There's a quote that comes up for me that someone once said, and it's, "What's best for me is best for everyone always." And sometimes when I'm thinking about making a decision that could impact other people, and I'm like, oh, what if this hurts them, or what if they don't like it? What if it's best for me?
Best for
it's
you,
best
bro.
for, yeah. And I think that speaks
Got
to
the hat on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so giving yourself permission to do what you need to do to be in alignment with yourself. That's a great question.
And keep the comments coming.
Let us know.
Let us know if you guys have any topics of interest, or in relationship, I feel includes all connection, right? So
even the stranger passing you by.
The stranger passing you by is a relationship. Talking to someone in a Uber. What do they call the Ubers where you share?
Uber sale?
Car.
If you're in one of those shared Ubers with strangers, you're in a relationship, right? I don't. Uber pool, right? If you are in a work meeting, and you're at a table at a board table in a meeting with people that you work besides, that's a relationship. If you are wanting to create intimacy with another, that's another form of relationship or relating. So I like to call it the practice or the art of relating, right? Relationship for me is just, how do I relate to myself, and how do I relate to those around me? It does not equal to me the idea that of partnership per se. Jordan and I just had lunch, right? I call that a relationship. We were in conversation, and in fact, deep intimate conversation about life, what we've experienced, within our lives that was maybe a struggle or a hardship.
How we learned from that.
Yep, how we learned from that, how we grew from that. Mel and I have dived way deep into some of those topics, so we're definitely in relationship to one another, because we're constantly we're relating. So I don't want the idea of relationship to necessarily have to be tied to
There's a comment on your feed.
Oh, there's a comment.
Ready?
We got a comment on the phone over here.
Leaving room for expansion and not limiting growth. You guys are sharing very mindful information. Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much for dropping in.
Thank you. Leaving room for expansion.
Leaving room for expansion. So here's an interesting perspective. My best friend Bree, and if she's watching, Bree, I love you.
Love you, Bree.
She told me, this is kind of a deep share. So we've known each other for 7 years, and kind of fell in best friend love, started wearing matching outfits by accident, like that kind of thing. I don't know if it happens to men, but it happens to women.
Not yet.
And she was kind of just like my right-hand woman. And whatever I was doing is what she was doing. And at all of like the parties I was having or gatherings, she was just my best friend, always by my side. And she never really hung out with anyone else. I was just her person.
Yeah.
And then she went through an inner transformation and started to like become her own social person. And this is after like 4 years of best friendship. All of a sudden she was reaching out to people that she had met through parties or whatever and hanging out with them, and I was like, oh, my girl, like she's hanging out with other people.
It grew up so fast.
And I noticed that I was scared that I was gonna lose her, or like now what's gonna happen, or what if she gets so big that it makes me small? Like real subconscious fears that I wouldn't speak out loud, like scared that she would expand beyond me, that I would lose her. And I just decided to sit in the place of like, everything's gonna be fine, and this is good for her and it's good for me. And of course it is, and it's beautiful that she has a flourishing, well-connected, loved social support network of her own, independent of me. But in that moment of shifting, watching my person shift was scary for me. Have you guys ever had someone really important in your life shift and felt fear about it? Tell me.
For me, I had a friend I'd known for like 20 years, like since I was like 4 years old, and him and I were like best friends the same way. We're always together, hanging out, doing all stuff together, like literally trying to think of the whole planet together. And then I moved away to a different part of Kansas for like 4 years, like go to school and look for a job and like find myself. And I came back, there were two different people at that point in time now. Like you said, people you leave and come back to, sometimes you're the same, sometimes you're a lot different. And him and I moved to Texas together when I first came down here. Had a business doing landscaping and construction work, but it went down south super bad, and we lost a lot of money because of it. And he fled and left me with the bill to pay for and everything. That's kind of one thing I learned. Like, wow, people do change super fast, and that expansion can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Or for me to ask myself, like, what is this teaching me right now in this moment? Why does this happen? What is it trying to teach me? Like, should I be less trusting? Should I be more picky? Should I weigh my standards to a different level of my friendships? Like, what is it trying to tell me right now? And that's kind of pointing to make it be subjective as possible at all times. Like, I might love this person with my whole heart, and like I won't be there for you guys all the time. But at the same time, what's best for me is best for everybody. Or I keep that in mind. Otherwise, we lose ourselves to other people. It becomes way harder for us to support them. Because I kind of focus that, hey, let's be the same team we was back in the past. Now, let's not break up this teamwork we have going on, and not get bogged down by what expectations are we used to have for each other.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan, for the share. I have a different approach, which has served me pretty well, but also taught me some really difficult lessons in short periods of time. So what I would do so I'm a Pisces, right? So I'm a water sign, and so I go with the flow, and I would literally flow into people's worlds and totally lose whatever identity I had of myself, and fully like engage myself in somebody else's story and somebody else's movie, so that again we can go back into the characters. And so what that did for me was I would literally spend years, right, losing myself, and we'll talk about the idea of like losing myself and finding myself, but I feel I was doing both simultaneously, because I've always gone with the impression that I don't know who I am, right? I don't know who I am, and then tomorrow, guess what? I'm not going to know who I am, because every day I'm changing at such a rapid pace. I'm picking up new senses of self, new states of being, new states of consciousness all of the time. And I'm interdimensional, right? So we can talk about the interdimensional nature of the human, and how we're not just one thing, we're many things, and potentially all things, and we have access to this information through our consciousness. And so I would jump into somebody else's world, lose myself for 2 years, and then literally like work to pull myself out of that other person's world with a totally new sense of self that I didn't have before. Now during that time, I struggled. It was hard. It was hurtful, but it was absolutely incredible. It was profound. I traveled to places I wouldn't have traveled to, by myself in the physical world, right? Like just going places that I would get invited to. And so it gave me a deeper sense of recognition of who I was, as well as a deeper sense of who I wasn't. So I came out on the other end knowing more of who I was and also more of who I wasn't. And I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the best approach, because the degree of contrast that we can experience when we completely immerse ourselves into somebody else's, story or in their world, without at least continually grounding ourselves or landing in our own senses of self or of who we want to be. I'm the curious explorer, so I'm like, I don't know yet. So let me just fully jump into this situation. But my relationships, my partnerships have been my deepest processes of my deepest learning processes. They really have. And now, because I've explored in that way, I no longer have to go as deep as what I once did, and it no longer takes me the same amount of time. So I can create really deep connection in really short periods of time without losing myself. Without going all the way, without losing myself in that way. And I'm a powerful reflector, right? Because I know myself, I'm reflecting from a strong sense of self with another person. And so the way that our gravity works together, it's like we're both pulling out the best in each other, and sometimes even pulling out the sticky parts, the parts that like we haven't learned to negotiate or deal with on our own. When that gravity, like when Mel and I's gravity comes into each other's space, we're swirling and the energy is moving, and we're allowing it is thick, and we're allowing for these things to come up. We call it radcoms, right?
Radical communication.
So anything that comes up when we're in partnership and we're flowing and creating together with feel more good or just like ideas, ideas in life. There are points that come up where you're like, I need to communicate this truth right now. And because we haven't lost our sense of self and we're in that discovery process, the things that come up feel even better to share, because we're consistently reconciling those ideas and comparing it to what we know about ourselves, but also because we're discovering, we're open to like what's new, what we're finding.
Well said.
Yeah.
You guys have another question.
Go for it.
This is from Cassandra Renee Shuett.
Hey,
Hey, thank you for your comment.
She's in Hawaii.
Thanks for joining.
She
Aloha.
says,
Aloha.
how do you navigate psychic intricacies you may recognize in others close to you? What is the equanimous balance for evolution? So to say, how do you maintain space when you see where you purely meet and are holding the vibration, but the other has subtle imbalanced perceptions? That's really interesting.
I love this question. By the way, I'm like,
that's a deep question.
I know, that's a big one. That's a big one. So you're steady, you're seeing what's real, and you're seeing the other person's not on solid ground. What comes up for me, with that question, the first thing I want to say is, if you being around them on not solid ground takes away your solid ground, take some space. Because two people both not on solid ground, you'll get swirled into something you didn't even mean to create.
Yeah.
And you always need one person, or ideally you have one person who can hold the space for the other person to be off balance. And that's part of what makes partnership and relationship really special, is when someone can hold that.
Yeah.
That's what comes up for you guys.
You have to add to that, it's all about realizing people either add into our lives or take away from us. But we're always destroying or creating. There's no in between ground. We're stagnant, we're still destroying. So if someone with us is not holding that ground for us, at the same time they're destroying us and bringing us down to the level we don't want to be at, and vice versa. So always kind of think, how can I empower this person?
Yeah.
And how can I use that psychic energy that's going on around us to make them more at peace and more understand what's going on in my life. But for me, that's how I always try to navigate my whole social standings. Is the imbalance to go to talk about is when imbalance comes from that lack of communication, that lack of understanding, that lack of commitment to helping each other become our best versions, and actually realizing that I'm here for this purpose. If you're not in the same frame as mine that I am, all we do right now is going to be breaking it down to the next level we want to be on.
The other thing is that perception for that person, while it might feel imbalanced to you, is completely balanced and real for them. Like there's never a feeling that's invalid. And so maybe there's also an opportunity to get curious and to validate that feeling and say, I hear that you feel that. Tell me more so I can see what you see. And dive into the map of their world, because their map is built on experiences and contexts and vortexes and traumas and adventures that are flavoring what they're seeing now. So maybe there's an opportunity to get curious and sit in the seat of maybe they are right in their own view.
Where I go is understanding that each person in your reality has a specific role to play. And so first asking yourself what character you are in their movie, and then asking them what character you are in their movie, right? Because what we often do is we'll meet people and we'll immediately start to create a story about that person without them even knowing it, right? And so we're sort of signing them up to play this role that they may not actually have the script for. And in fact, they'll never have the script for your movie. They'll only have the script for their movie. And when I think about script, I'm talking about, you know, your soul script, as I call it. It's like the thing that you came in with, the part that you came in to play. And that's where I want to land with people. I want to land with people that are reading from the script that they came into life with, because that's the one that's most authentic.
Given to them.
Yeah, that's the one that's given to them. And that's the one that's most authentic to their being. And that's the one that's being translated by their heart. That's the one that they're fully receiving, not in the mind through the stories, but in the heart through their true self. And so the way I work with the subtlety that you're talking about, Cassandra, is I try to navigate the stories that are already happening in the space. So first getting real with the person and saying, like, yo, here's the story that I'm projecting or overlaying onto you, right? So here's the role that I've signed you up for. Like, you're my partner forever, and we're gonna have kids together. You know, that already takes away their sovereignty and takes away their autonomy to really create with you, because we meet each other to create together. And so the same with you. If that person has overlaid a story like, you're my queen, you're my this, that's a story, and that somehow can encapsulate how much they see in you and how much you are therefore able to give. So if we can arrive at each other with a level of emptiness where we're not operating through or by way of any stories that we're projecting, then we can really see and meet each other at this place of neutrality, equal ground. And that's the equanimity that you talked about. And from that equanimity, that person, those subtle perceptions that you're perceiving are more likely to come into the moment than to stay as like hidden subtle perceptions that you're perceiving. Because you want to relate to people that are in their fullness, they're in their wholeness. Like all of them is in that moment right then. And if there's any fear, if there's any worry, if there's any doubt, if there's any story, if there's any hesitation, if there's any of these things, then we're only allowing people to see like a fraction of us. And then hoping that they can relate to all of us through the fraction that we're showing them, right? And then therefore hoping that like, wow, if I just show them a little bit of me, maybe they'll stick around for a long time. That's probably never going to happen, because you might be showing them the parts that you want them to see and you feel good about them seeing, and they might feel good about it, but guess what you will always do? You'll always bloom, right? You're always in bloom. And so you're gonna always show more and more of yourself, whether you want to or not. And that's when it becomes a little more difficult within these intimate connections, because people may not be ready, right, for our wholeness. But if you come from the initial place of wholeness and show a person, this is who I am right now, today, in my vulnerability, in my wholeness, in my fullness. I'm nervous about this. I'm excited about this. Whatever it is, then allowing them to see all of that makes it more difficult for them to judge on the other end, because we never want to be judged, but we're always going to judge. Yeah. We're always going to judge.
That's who we are as people.
That's meant to. Yeah, we had to judge the level of these cameras to make sure that we were being seen correctly. So imagine how much I'm judging myself in order to be shown in a certain light, right? It's metaphorical, but it's also
a camera back to you.
Yeah.
I think a big thing too is like realizing that we all literally 7.6 different people in one body.
How many? Say it again.
7.6 billion people in one body. Because like, for every person out there, there's a new story for us. Like, I might see Daniel one way, but Melanie sees him in a whole different light.
That's deep.
And same for all you guys. Like, for everyone we see, we're a different person to that person. We're never the same person we like to believe we are. So now just be yourself, because like at the end of the day, we're always gonna be judged. Yeah. Like, this is how we survive as a species. So when you embody that mindset of like, okay, if I'm just me for myself, I'm gonna be this person for that person, and I would be in my fullness, so you can have that better understanding of who you want to judge it as.
Let that one breathe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it. I was like,
7.6 billion people in one.
Probably all want to be reflecting, you know?
Yeah. My judge pops up quick to judge people. And not judge like, ew, but judge like other. And then what comes up for me lately, and what I actually started practicing this in Bali, is remembering that they're also me.
Yeah.
You are both me.
Yeah.
This house is me.
Yeah.
I'm projecting all of this right now and making it the flavor that the ice cream I want to eat.
Yeah.
So when someone walks by and I'm like, oh my god, look how tight her pants are. Then I'm like, oh wait, she's me. Get it, girl.
Do your thing, girl. Actually, where'd you get those pants at?
Yeah, once you, but it's a good practice. If you see someone and you have a thought that's judgy, be like, oh wait, they're also me. And then all of a sudden you find all the ways that you're just like them, and I have compassion for them, and I have like, oh, I know what you're doing. I've done that. I see you. Play that game. I get that.
Imagine like judging your neighbor, right? Like literally the person that's next door to you. And we're still trying to figure out how to like reconcile and create peace in the world, but we're still judging the neighbor that's next to us that literally has the most identical life as you do, right? They have more of a chance of being
just like you.
Than the person on the other side of the world. Like, they have a house, they probably have a mortgage, they have a vehicle, they have car insurance, they got a dog, they probably have to feed that dog.
They have the same corner store.
You gotta go into the same grocery stores often. You probably go to the same bank, you rely on the same monetary system, you know what I mean? There's so many things that connect us than the things that disconnect us. So and sometimes we're more readily equipped to notice separation than we are connection. And that's because of what you're saying. We are separated out into these conscious beings, these 7 point however many billion beings, in order to have an individuated experience about what all this is about, what life is about. Your perception about life and your stories about life, your history, right, is going to be different than my history, and it's going to be different than your history, right? But we've often been given like one history, right? And that's part of the other, piece of the puzzle, is knowing that there's no one history, right? If both of us have our own individuated perspectives of view, imagine how many perspectives of history there are, right? So imagine how many perspectives there are of any great leader you can think about, or any presidential candidate. Imagine how many different perspectives that there are that exist in the world. And it's just a way to arrive at not a judgmental place, but just a curious and a neutral place within ourselves about the stories that we make up and create about other people, even if that person is showing us evidence, right? Even if that person is showing us evidence of who they are and they did this to me, and accepting that that person is there to mirror back to you a chance or an opportunity to arrive at something different within yourself, right? They're meant to show you this scene. They're meant to trigger you. They're meant to give you enough information to allow an emotion to show up within you so that it can be reconciled. I feel literally that's what the people around us do. Like in this massive, beautiful live action movie experience that we're having, right? That we call life or humanity, is each person is displaying a behavior, and some of our greatest teachers are going to create the largest emotion, right? They're going to create the, what do you want to say, like the most momentum within us. And that person is there. If you have people like that in your lives, they're there for a reason. And you technically, right, can we talk technically, you're technically projecting them into your experience so that they can show you something that's within yourself, something that is wanting to be explored within your own world, within your own emotional spectrum. So love the people that trigger you and love the people that don't, because they both serve a higher purpose in your experience. So, we have any more questions?
We don't, and
Okay.
we are approaching an hour live. So maybe any ending thoughts?
Yeah.
If you could sum up what it means to have a good relationship, what would that be to you? And to you guys too.
I would say two people choosing to be present with each other while also choosing to be responsible for their own feelings, and holding space, seeing the other person in their highest good.
Yeah.
So that they can grow and rise into that space.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm at a place with, thank you, man. I'm at a place within myself that any relationship that I form, I want it to be from a place of co-creation. And that co-creation doesn't have to be like an activity or something that we're creating that's tangible in the world, but definitely from a place of discovery of, I want to discover the things that are within me that come out for you that don't come out for anyone else. That's something that I take ownership of, and I place a lot of importance on. When things come from me, whether again it's a trigger or a deep emotion or a deep love, if that comes from me for a specific person, it doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be with that person forever, or that I'm supposed to hate that person or create distance. But it does mean that this person is there for a reason, and I want to be as non-judgmental and as curious as possible about what's coming up for me because that person is there. And so I consider that co-creation. And the people that I've been doing that with, right, are in a lot of ways doing the same things, right? So we can arrive at points of discovery that are literally like quantum leaps. They're like, they these humans that we're around that do that for us can open up potentials and possibilities that would take us lifetimes to access by ourselves. So I want that. I invite that in. I invite those people that trigger me, that create these strong emotions that I literally fall in love with because of how amazing and magnetizing they are. But I don't own you, right? I'm just here to experience myself when I'm sharing space with you. So that's where I go.
Both of those are super deep, and I agree with you more. I definitely love both the statements. For me, I'm definitely really similar. Like for me, I want to be all about like having to be super authentic and intentional and purposeful. But that way, when we're with somebody, it's all about the mindset. Like, are we on the same tribe together, or are they gonna be raw, nitty, and gritty? Or like, how that's gonna play out for each other in the future? But back in the day, I wanted to be harmonious. I wanted to have the best relationship, no arguments, no nothing. But like that's not life. We had to have the good and the bad to really experience each other in our fullness. Really embrace each other for who we really are. So like for me, it's all about having that authenticity. We actually love each other for who we are and give them that space to be themselves so we be ourselves even more within them.
That was beautiful. Yeah, I really value being authentic in a relationship. Alright, y'all. This was a solid set.
Yeah.
Thank you for creating this and inviting me into it.
Yeah.
And everyone out there, nice to meet you.
Hello, everyone. We love you.
If y'all have follow-up comments, just put them in the comments. And if you have any requests about what you would like to see from these two gentlemen next on their feed so that we can serve you, let them know.
Melanie and Jordan are tagged in my live. I'm sure he'll tag. And so make sure to friends and follow, each one of us, because we're all interested in this collective understanding of ourselves and collective understanding of life in general and how we can grow together. So,
and one more thing that if you have any friends who know about relationships who need to hear this message, tag them below, share the video with your friends as well. Like it's all about procreating as one unit. As one level of consciousness. But let's do this all together to reach more people to help them become their own person and their own fullness, being empowered to become the best selves.
Love you. More lives coming soon. I'm loving this.
Oh.
I do feel alive when I'm on live.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And awesome people.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, later.
Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you all soon.